Hi, my name's Tina, and I have been getting a lot of questions from teachers who are diving into CI partway through the year, or from teachers who have done some CI stuff and they've been doing all kinds of different curriculums and they are trying to, and things have kind of gotten off the rails and they're trying to re-establish CI as a successful experience for them and their students. So I have here 6 points that I think will help. So let's dive in. So when you are going to either start CI with students who haven't had it yet in the year, or your CI's kind of gone off the rails, you need to start fresh and you need to have the illusion of normalcy. So this is anytime a teacher needs to start something new. You don't want to make it sound like you made mistakes or mistakes were made, or that you, excuse me, I just got off the bus, it's cold, or that you, are trying something new with the kids. You want to just make it sound like it's normal. So if you've never done CI before and you've been using the textbook or like communicative activities or stuff based on grammar or whatever you've been using, you just want to say to the kids like, hey, it's time to start using the language more in class. You guys are ready for this. So that makes it sound like, yeah, every year in November we get started with using more French in the classroom. If you have been doing CI but you are not satisfied with the way it's been going, you just want to say, we're starting a new unit. So you want to clear out what you're working on now, maybe take like half a week or go to the end of the week and do some kind of summative experience with what you're doing so it seems to the kids like it's done, it's over. And then probably like on a Monday it would be good to just kind of say, we're starting a new unit or we're starting a new way of teaching because you kids are ready for this. Then the second thing that you want to tell them is we're going to do a listening activity. You just want to make it sound like, and I got this idea from a member of Ben Slavic's PLC, and I'm not remembering their name right off the top of my head, and I didn't really have time to go find out who said it, but it was a genius idea because you just tell the kids, like, today we're going to do a listening activity in Spanish or Mandarin or whatever language you're teaching. So you want to just make it sound like it's an activity. I didn't go drink some magic Kool-Aid or make some major life change, even though you might have. But you just want to tell the kids like it's time to do more listening activities in French class, and so today we're going to do a listening activity. Then the next important thing is that you establish your expectations for how the listening activity is going to go. So you might want to tell them the classroom rules. My classroom rules are right over here. So that they need to listen with the intent of understanding. That one person will be talking and the others will be listening, and mostly that'll be you. That sometimes you might ask for suggestions, and it keeps it fun if they suggest cute things. And that we're going to limit our English because, well, this is French class, not English class. Sometimes I tell my students, you guys are really proficient in English, so we're not here to grow in your English proficiency. That's your language arts teacher's job. This I don't really, it's on there, but I meant to take it off. So I don't really emphasize that too much. And then that they need to sit up straight and keep their shoulders straight with what's going on and keep their eyes clearly, on the input. And I tell them that, and then down here it says to do your half and for actors and artists to synchronize with my words. But you're not going to be using actors and artists right now. You are trying to keep it really simple. So it's just going to be a listening activity where they're listening to some language. So you want to establish those expectations, and then of course during the activity you want to revisit those expectations. Mine are right there on that cart, and I spend a good amount of time at that cart just pointing to them and like looking at the class and waiting for them to come along with me. You have to do that. You have to commit during this listening activity to do that every single time a student is not paying attention. So that is key. The most important thing during this listening activity is reestablishing or establishing your expectations for their attention and behavior during the input or the listening activity. So this is extremely important in my opinion. I'm just gonna make it like stand out here. Is to keep this experience short and very successful. You do not want this to go off the rails at all. You want to make sure that it goes exactly the way you want every other day for the rest of the year whenever you do any input to go. So you want them to feel the way it feels to meet your expectations. So one thing that you can do, like I said, is point to those rules and like wait for them and just be very patient. Take a deep breath. I like to think to myself while I'm over there at the rules, like, this is a good opportunity for me. I'm just like literally standing here and getting paid for it. I think that to myself all the time. I think, I just get to stand here and take a deep breath, and this is good teaching and I'm getting paid for it. The first thing I wrote here under making it short and successful is, the first thing you should really think about is that this is probably gonna be 15 to 25 minutes, okay? You'll probably do some other things at the beginning of class, at the end of class. You wanna keep this short so that it's very tight and crystal clear and a really, you're basically building like a reference point. This is like the keystone moment where you want it to go really well so that you can replicate that. And so here's some tips on making sure that it stays that way. So the first thing I wrote down here was turn and talk like you meant it. And this has to do with that illusion of normalcy, right? So you never want to be like, wow, we're really like getting off the rails here, everybody's talking. If you notice that like one kid is talking or maybe two, then I would point to these rules. If you notice that like a lot of kids are starting to get kind of squirrely or their attention is waning, then I just tell them in English, I say this, hey, turn and tell somebody near you, what have we learned about the calendar, or what have we learned about Ms. Hargadon's house, or whatever we're talking about. So I just say turn and talk, and usually they turn and talk in English. That's fine. It discharges some of their energy, and then you need a signal to get them back. I just simply go 5, 4, 3, shh, 2, shh, 1, shh, 0, and I have a consequence if they don't come back to me in 5 seconds and get quiet. I just sit there and count like this, and I take minutes off of a preferred activity that they have. It's kind of like Fred Jones' preferred activity time without all the adding up of all the seconds, because I literally can't do the math. So every second that I count becomes a minute that we take off of a planned, 25-minute activity. So getting them to turn and talk when they're just kind of generally becoming squirrely makes sure that when they come back to you, they've had a chance to kind of discharge their energy, and their focus is going to be more intense. And that's what you're looking for, is that keystone moment where you can feel and experience what it's like to have that very focused attention. The next thing I wrote down here was go slow and keep it simple. So when you go really, really slowly, you're going to maximize the student's ability to understand, and they're going to feel more comfortable, and comfortable kids are better behaved kids. That's true in every subject matter. That's true for adults, right? If we feel uncomfortable, like in a staff meeting, we're more apt to like check out. And for adults, it's usually getting on our phones or like whispering to our neighbor. Just like kids. Whoa. So keeping it really slow helps to make sure they're understanding, and it also gives you a chance to kind of, I call it like sweep the room with your eyes and check in with them to make sure that they're with you. So the pace that you would want to go through is something like this. Here, I'll go talk about the calendar back here. Classe, ça, c'est le calendrier. Et lundi, mardi, mercredi, jeudi. aujourd'hui et jeudi, le 2 Novembre. So, like, you literally want to have like 3-4 seconds between every sort of word or small little chunk of words that you say. And in those silences, you're looking around to see if everybody's with you, if everybody's kind of like engaged, if their body language is less like this and more like this. So that helps you to make it a successful experience for them. Also, I said simple. So I already mentioned that I wouldn't be doing acting or artists at this point. My goal is for everybody to understand a very simple dose of French. So literally, I would recommend to a lot of people to start with the calendar. There it is, right there. I also have this other calendar where it's more like a sentence, where it says, okay, it says, aujourd'hui, c'est mardi, le 1er novembre 2017, il fait frais, il fait du soleil, il pleut, à mon avis, il fait mauvais. So using something like that is very, very simple. You can actually get a lot of language out of it. You can ask kids, you know, is it hot or is it cool? Is it cool or is it cold? And I have little cards that, you know, illustrate all of those things. Using the calendar and the weather is actually, some people say it could get boring. It can get boring. But for an experience like this, where it's maybe their first time, or you're like really wanting to like lock them down so that you're reestablishing like a successful CI classroom, doing something really simple like that is actually going to be highly successful for them. The calendar is very scaffolded. The weather is very clear. It's very comfortable. Something else you could do is talk about like the daily schedule. A lot of numbers in there. You can ask kids who is your teacher for different periods and do you like it or not. These are all just really like schooly, familiar, comforting, simple things that you can talk about. Another thing, if you're feeling punchy and you want to challenge, is that you could talk about like geography. I find that talking about, full disclosure, I used to be a social studies teacher, so I like talking about geography. So doing something like, you know, okay, ça, c'est les États-Unis d'Amérique. Ça, c'est le drapeau des États-Unis d'Amérique. Et ça, c'est l'État I wasn't going slow enough, people. I'm slowing down now. Ça, c'est l'État d'Oregon. Notre État. Et ça, c'est la Floride. Classe. Qui a visité la Floride? Qui a déjà visité la Floride? Oh, Chuck a visité la Floride. Et Chuck, tu as aimé, classe, aimé en anglais. Tu as aimé la Floride? Hey classe, Chuck a visité la Floride et Chuck a aimé la Floride. Classe, applaudissez Chuck 2 fois. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. So, Geography, because it's concrete, can also be very successful and simple for the kids. I have to go and lock the door so my kids don't get in. And lucky for you, that also means that I have about 2 minutes to finish up this video because they're going to their lockers and they'll be here soon. So I also wrote that you need to scaffold visually. And that's why I like geography or the calendar or the schedule or the weather, because all those things have like very high visual scaffolding, right? Map of the United States. Number 5, I wrote reflect and celebrate. So at the end of the experience, you want to talk to them explicitly about like, how much did you understand? Raise your hand if you understood half of what I said. Raise your hand if you understood 75% of what I said. Raise your hand if you understood like 90% or more of what I said. Raise your hand if you feel like you understood everything I said. That's amazing, kids. You learned so much French. You understood everything. You're so smart. Yay. And also you could reflect on the rules. Who feels like they did really well at listening and trying to understand? Obviously, you did because you understood almost everything. Yay! So making it like this really like, I'm so proud of you. You did a really great job. Look how much we understood. I'm such a great teacher. I made it comprehensible. Yay us. That helps to maintain their motivation to do this again tomorrow. And then I said at the bottom, repeat if necessary. It will be necessary to repeat it. In order for them to acquire the language, they are going to need to hear big doses of it. So I hope this helped. Lots of people have been writing in to me and posting on Facebook and on Ben Slavic's blog. I've just noticed there's like this rash of people who happily are really committed to CI and are taking it up with their classes and want to know how to get started, or who have started the year with a whole bunch of different, like, it's very overwhelming sometimes. There's a lot of different like flavors of CI out there. And so some people have been trying to do like, you know, a whole bunch of different things and they get overwhelmed and they don't have like that clear, focused, calm simplicity that you really need to make it successful. Okay, thank you very much and have a good day. Bye.